Nobody compares Beyonce and Rihanna anymore. And I love it. I love how we've all let that go. I guess they aren't actively making music. Well, Beyonce kind of is. But it was a long running theme where people compared Beyonce and Rihanna. And it all stemmed from the fact that back in the day, we were only allowed to have one black musician in the Beyonce era. We literally only had 3 musicians, black female musicians. Nicki Minaj came after, but Beyonce, Rihanna, and that was it. And they put them against each other. And it was like, I don't know what happened. I saw a documentary about like 9/11 changing sort of like the mentality and like making media more racist. So maybe that was why, because like back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we had a plethora of black musicians just making hits. And so this era from about 2005 till 2015, that was like 10 years. It was only Beyonce and Rihanna that were allowed to do anything. And then Nicki Minaj came through. But it was like all this gatekeeping was terrible. And Rihanna's publicist at the time did admit that he put a rumor out that Rihanna had slept with Jay-Z to give her clout, which was like a really disgusting thing to do because she was definitely like a teenager. So the fact that he did that and it was okay for him to do that back then, it was so disgusting. But either way, there's really no reason for that rumor to have spread, but it did give Rihanna clout, even though it probably was not true. I mean, it's not true, but he did admit it, he made it up. But imagine how much you have to think about it from Beyonce. There's no reason that Beyonce and Rihanna would not do a song together, right? Beyonce did a song with Nicki Minaj. Beyonce does songs with different people, Meg Thee Stallion. Why wouldn't she do a song with Rihanna? Because like, I feel like deep down, somewhere in her mind, she was probably like, this might have happened. And obviously we know with like, when she exposed Jay-Z during Lemonade, I'm sure she probably questioned it. But either way, I just really wish that the two of them would make a song together. I think it'd be epic. But at the same time, they're so different as artists. Like, I don't even know if it would even work, because they have a really different style, different aesthetic, different everything. And I love the way that Beyonce took that good girl role. And when Rihanna came out, she first started doing that good girl role, but over time she realized, look, Beyonce has taken this market, this niche. I can take everything else. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. It really pushes this video out in the algorithm and encourages me to make more videos. This video is brought to you by mintedculture.com, my new website, mintedculture.com, where you can find out everything that I'm doing, all my new videos. I post twice daily, 2 different videos from 2 of my different channels, the Kenim O show and this channel, Brand Video Pro. I post there every single day. Also, you go to mintedculture.com and you can book a consultation with me, a one-on-one consultation, and we talk about Web3, the metaverse. We talk about filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, you name it. All of it is on there. Marketing, your business, all that. So go book a one-on-one consultation with me. And yeah, just go check it out, mintedculture.com. Okay, let's keep going. Over time, she realized, look, Beyonce has taken this market, this niche. I can take everything else. And that's when Rihanna came with like her different hairstyles, just representing being a black woman, doing different like wild, crazy hairstyles, ensuring that she really had her footing in the fashion industry in a way that Beyonce wasn't present there. She really like found a way to find her own voice and imprint herself in the entertainment industry in a way that we couldn't deny her. And it's so funny how people don't remember Rihanna's come up, because yes, as much as like she was a big chart topping artist, great hits, and I have to say there are a few components in her career that made her blow. It was first dating Chris Brown. That always elevates a musician when you date another musician. And like her and Chris Brown was like, it was just like a perfect branding situation. It almost felt like it was fake. Like you had like how it was just so perfect. And then when he beat her, that was like ridiculous. I personally feel like she took a lot of his fame because at the time it was so much clear, and I made a video about this, it was so much clear that he was on his like this trajectory, this path to be the next Michael Jackson, and he was going to become this super huge star if he just played his cards right. And it looks like Justin Bieber just slid in and took his spot, but either way, if you slacked, there's somebody else to replace you. But either way, by him doing this to her and putting Rihanna in this like terrible position, she was also like a victim, it just made a lot of people sympathize with her and opened her up to a bigger audience because of sympathy. You know, look, I'm a screenwriter, and one of the tools, one of the devices when you're writing a character, your protagonist, is giving people an unfair injury. When you give a character an unfair injury, it really boosts their ability to get more supporters. So this putting Rihanna in this position really gave her more supporters. And the fact that even though she was in this position, she didn't act like a victim. She acted like a brave, strong woman, that even bought her more fans. And I don't think she did this on purpose. I don't think she did this like to get attention. I think she did it because she's just great at what she does. And her doing this, that's another device in storytelling, when you're building characters that are lovable. When you're building characters that are lovable, is a brave character. People love, like, in fact, in every movie you have, your protagonist has to be brave. And even if they start out as a wimp, they have to become brave. If not, nobody's watching that movie. So this is another trait that Rihanna had, and she was just like bold, she was brave. So people really latched onto Rihanna's personality. This is another thing. It's like her marketing team just sat there and said, look, Beyonce has dominated this space. What is left for Rihanna to dominate, right? And so Rihanna sort of took on, the different hairstyles. She took on the personality. We got to see Rihanna's personality, which was a complete contrast from Beyonce's personality, because we never got to see Beyonce's personality. But after sort of the Chris Brown incident, it sort of gave Rihanna this new sort of wave and new ability to showcase who she really was. And it was at a very important time in media, because we as consumers started to expect more from celebrities. We wanted to consume more for celebrities. I remember Twitter came out. Twitter started popping at the fall of that year, 2009, and we just wanted more from musicians. And she really facilitated that. And with Instagram, the rise of Instagram, Rihanna was one of the people that brought a lot of people onto Instagram in the first place. She was like the Instagram queen for a long time. She left, and then Kim Kardashian and the whole Kardashian clan took over, and are holding that spot firmly right now. But Rihanna had her time. But I digressed a little bit, and let's go back to Rihanna versus Beyonce. Her team just understood, let's give them everything that Beyonce is not giving. But also, let's shine a light on who Rihanna is. There was gatekeeping. And it didn't allow us to see the diversity of like what we have right now. Like, there's just so many different musicians, Black female musicians, so many different ones, so much diversity. And they are all different in their own way. And it just shows that, like, even though Rihanna and Beyonce took their own niches, there was still space for more, but the industry just didn't let it. But I think, so that was stage one of Rihanna blowing up. It was what? Her dating Chris Brown. 2, Chris Brown beating her. An unfair injury. It really boosts their ability to get more supporters. Even though she was in this position, she didn't act like a victim. She acted like a brave, strong woman, that even bought her more fans. But when Rihanna really blew up was when Beyonce became pregnant in 2011. And Rihanna came out with that album, Talk That Talk. And also, she lost a ton of weight. It all happened simultaneously. She lost a ton of weight, so she looked really good. And the media loves you when when you look really good. So she sort of like stepped into that Beyonce role whilst Beyonce was pregnant. And which, look, at the end of the day, right now Wendy Williams is out there's going to be somebody else that's going to take her spot, right? That's how it works. When somebody is sitting on the bench, that's when you take the opportunity to strike. The way that Justin Bieber blew up is because just the same year that Chris Brown beat Rihanna and was on the fence, on the bench, that's the year that Justin Bieber came out of nowhere and dominated and took all of Chris Brown's fans for good, forever, and more, and created more of a fan base. So this is how when somebody's on the bench, somebody's going to take their spot. So it's just the way it is. It's not like, I'm not saying it like, oh, Rihanna was vindictive and she snuck in and stole Beyonce's spot. No, Rihanna was like waiting. She was next in line. She was waiting for that opportunity. She was ready for that opportunity. And it was like she knew as soon as Beyonce got pregnant, Rihanna just knew she had to lose weight. She knew that this was her time. And if she didn't get her stuff together right now, she would not dominate. So she did exactly what she needed to do, lost a ton of weight, created an incredible album. That's probably my favorite Rihanna album, if I'm not, like, seriously. You the One, We Found Love, Where Have You Been? That album was insane. November 18th, 2011, that's when it came out. So she knew what she was doing, and she blew up. She blew in a different way. Like the Rihanna that you know of today, that's where she blew to phenomenal heights. And ultimately, you could say this happened, that happened, whatever. But what it comes down to is her hard work, her work ethic, and her ability, her talent in creating dynamic and music. Like, I don't think there's a musician on this planet that can create the kind of hits that Rihanna can create. And even though she's been out of commission in terms of in music, she hasn't been working in music for years, we all remember Rihanna because she has the best music. In my opinion, I think a lot of people will agree. But either way, if she does release a new album, I'll be excited to listen. If she doesn't, well, oh well. Back to my point. How come we no longer compare Beyonce and Rihanna? And it comes down to the fact that they have both created their own pathway, their own direction, which is completely different. Rihanna stopped doing music entirely, just focused on fashion, became a billionaire. Is like she's a fashion icon. And then Beyonce she's not just a musician, but she is a master of her craft, giving us dynamic, just innovating in the music space, the way that we saw Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson invented the music video, right? Because before Michael Jackson, music videos were literally just performances, musicians just performing in front of a camera. And that was the music video. That was the visual that they would see. But Michael Jackson created these movies out of his music. So Beyonce has taken that concept and she's actually creating movies out of her music, right? She's actually making these feature-length movies out of her music, these visual albums. She's an innovator in the same way Michael Jackson was. And that comes from having an amazing team. So it's really interesting how Rihanna sort of like used her music to expand and explore. Beyonce used her music to be more introspective and to dive deeper into it and become the greatest that ever was. Because ultimately, it really doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or whatever. Her and Jay-Z are still worth $1 billion together. But it really ultimately doesn't matter. It's about what is the impact that you have on this planet? And Beyonce's really focused on that. And not to belittle what Rihanna's doing, because what she's doing in the fashion industry, in the makeup industry, is just creating inclusive fashion, inclusive stylish fashion, inclusive makeup. I'm wearing Fenty makeup right now, So she's really innovated in her own space and used her clout and her fame to build more. And I think that it just it's so inspiring, and I just hope to see less of the sort of like comparing Black women and just wanting to let each of them pave their own way, design their own path, and not be put against each other, right? And it's so sad because when the industry puts you against each other, there's always conflict. But I just love that Rihanna and Beyonce, I don't even know if there is conflict with them, but they've never, Beyonce is just so classy. Both of them have just been so classy about it and never acknowledged it, never accepted it, and just continue to focus on what they needed to focus on, even though the media was really still trying to put them against each other. But Rihanna and Beyonce are two separate, different people. And I'm just so glad that people have finally stopped comparing them. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time. Peace.